Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to do a buy this, don't buy that luxury edition. So I first saw this video, Samantha March did that. So I will link her video in her channel down below, and it just inspired me because I know with luxury beauty especially, a lot of people who watch my channel just want to invest in certain luxury pieces. They don't want to buy all the new things coming out. And I'm kind of having my own realization that I don't want a ton of makeup in my collection. I want like the best of the best, and I want to be really thoughtful with my purchases, and I'm just being super aware lately. So I've also made a pact with myself that if I decide to buy like a new bronzer, a new eyeshadow palette, I'm going to declutter one eyeshadow palette or one blush, whatever I'm buying from my collection. So I thought that'd be kind of interesting to incorporate in my channel as well. When I bring new stuff in, I will also show you what I am getting rid of in my collection. But I just thought this would be fun because one of the most common questions when I do a review, or if I mention like a top 10 list or my favorites from a brand, people like to ask the question, well, do you like this one or this one more? And I totally understand why, because again, in your luxury collection, you probably just want the best of the best, or you don't want things that are too similar. So I just thought I would go over the products that I get the most questions about. So before I get started, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and let's just get started. So I figured I would start with foundations. So I have recently done a review on both the Peau Radiant Fluid Foundation Natural and the Chanel Sublimage L'Essence de Teint. And I love both these foundations. All the products I talk about, I love both of them, but this is just a battle of the best kind of thing, and which one I would choose if I had to choose to keep just one, or what I would recommend to you guys. So again, these foundations are very similar. Let's start with the Chanel Sublimage L'Essence de Teint. I love this foundation. This is a great all-year foundation for me. It looks great in the summer, spring, winter. Well, I guess I haven't tried it in the winter. I think I bought it in February, so I did try it out. It was just a great all-year foundation, and it never leaves my skin looking greasy. It never leaves my skin looking too dry. It's a perfect velvet finish, and it really is just your skin but better. It's not too radiant. Sometimes a radiant foundation looks a little too much on the skin. It can look a little too fake on the skin because you just have so much radiance. And you need to be really aware of that foundation because you need to make sure you're powdering it down. But this is just a great natural finish. It is so elegant on the skin. It is just such a sophisticated foundation. It's my favorite way to describe it. It is, I would say, a medium coverage foundation, and I just think the way it makes your skin look is so unbelievable. It really blurs the skin. It perfects the skin, again, without a ton of coverage. It just kind of gives that filtered effect. I think there's kind of like some soft focus pigments in here that really give that filtered effect, which I just love in a foundation. And the Peau Radiant Fluid Foundation Natural is honestly very similar. All the same points that I mentioned about the Chanel are the same with this foundation. The main difference I would say is that the Peau has a little bit more coverage, like a hair more. And it's also a little more matte on the skin. Now, again, this is definitely more of that velvet finish, but I just think this one is slightly more radiant than the Peau, which is a little more matte on my skin personally. But I love both of these foundations. They're both excellent. You can't go wrong with either one. They both have that really lovely serum texture, so it feels very comfortable on the skin. Never drying, it's never cakey. Again, it just looks like your skin, but better. You don't look like you're wearing a ton of makeup. And so picking a favorite was really difficult, but I find the one that I reach for just a little bit more is the Peau Radiant Fluid Foundation Natural. So I'm going to suggest this one. This one is also a little bit less expensive than the Chanel Sublimage L'Essence de Teint. So this one is 210 Canadian dollars. And this one, I believe they did start out as 180, but I believe it's 190 Canadian dollars currently. But I just love this foundation. This is also a foundation that I have got my mom and my sister to buy because I just raved about it so much. So I think if you were deciding between these two foundations, I'm going to give it to the Peau Radiant Fluid Foundation Natural. This is just a foundation that I reach for any occasion. I can wear it all day throughout my work day. I also reach for this if I'm going out for dinner, if I'm going out for lunch or anything like that. If there is more of a special occasion, this is just the foundation I grab for most often in comparison to this one, but both great foundations. You can't go wrong with either one. But this one just inches a little bit further ahead. I'm going to discuss bronzers next. So the two bronzers that are battling it out are the Chantecaille Real Bronze Bronzer. I have mine in the shade Sirena, and you can see I have Hit Pan on this. So this is a big chalet texture, and when you feel it, it does feel quite creamy. It almost feels like a cream product. It has that kind of like cushiony, it almost feels like it could be cushiony feeling, but it lays on the skin beautifully. You can see it is quite pigmented. It has a very skin-like effect. So it has like a very soft sheen, but there is no shimmer in it. I think it is just because it's a baked product that it just looks so skin-like, and it's that perfect like medium tan shade. It does lean a little bit warmer, but it's not too warm. It's not orange in any way, and it's just so skin-like. It really melts into the skin when you apply it. It's so beautiful. I love this foundation. I've raved about it so much. It's just beautiful. And the other bronzer that I have to mention is the Sisley, what is the name of this? The Sun Glow Bronzing Gel Powder. So again, this is a gel formula. So it's that baked gelée formula. So again, when you feel it, it feels quite creamy. It applies like a cream product, but it blends like a powder product. So it's super buildable, super blendable. And again, because it's a baked gelée, it has that really beautiful skin-like texture where it just melts into the skin. So this is the Sisley bronzer, and I don't know if you can tell, they both have like the same depth to them, but the Sisley bronzer has a bit more of a sheen to it. So there's light reflecting particles. Again, I'm not going to say there's glitter or shimmer, but it just has a bit more of a sheen to it, and it's also warmer toned on the skin. So because this is very, very warm toned, I'm going to say the Chantecaille Real Bronze is the one that I would choose if I were just to say between these two. This one just wins by a little bit. I just think the Chantecaille is a little more user-friendly, only because there's a bit less of a sheen and because it is less orange toned. This one can lean a little bit orange, especially if I have like no tan going on or anything like that. So this is a product, the Sisley, that I reach for more in the summertime. And because I reach for the Chantecaille all year round, I think that this one is just worth it a little bit more because I can use this, like I said, 365 days out of the year. I just reach for the Sisley more on like special occasions, especially in the evening. This type of sheen looks really beautiful, or during the summertime when I want that more warm tone bronzer. So because I use this more often, I am going to give the win to the Chantecaille. The Chantecaille is also a little bit less pricey than the Sisley. This is 150 Canadian dollars, so very pricey. The Chantecaille is 105 Canadian dollars. So they're both pricey, but this one just has a little bit more edge than the Sisley does, but both great products again. All right, moving on to liquid highlighter. So I have the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter, and whenever a new liquid illuminator gets released on the market, everyone always asks, what would you choose over the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter? And my latest buy has been the Lisa Eldridge Seamless Skin Elevated Glow, and this is the shade, it's so hard to read this, Crystal Nebula. So again, of course, these do look similar. They're both liquid highlighters. They both have that doe foot applicator, so I understand why a lot of people would want to know which one is more worth it to buy. So I want to start off with talking about the formulas. They're both pretty similar, but the Lisa Eldridge, I don't know if you can tell, when you open it up, it is quite runny and liquidy. So it's a very thin texture. So when I apply it onto my skin, it is quite runny, like I said. And it gives, like when you blend it in, it feels very silky soft. It blends in very beautiful. It's very seamless on the skin, so it's not going to look like highlighter sitting on top of your skin. It really blends and melts into the skin. You probably get a sense of the type of products I like. It is a very beautiful natural glow. And I do notice that there is quite a bit of shimmer to this. So this is something I reach for if I am looking for that skin-like effect highlighter. But I want something that's a bit more light reflecting, a little more intense. It's kind of that, it's more than a glow from within product. It's definitely like, wow, that's a beautiful highlight. But again, it doesn't sit on top of the skin, it melts in. And then This Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter I love because you can use it underneath your foundation, and you actually can use the Lisa Eldridge. The thing that I've noticed about using this under my foundation is that it doesn't react with my foundations in my favorite way. I almost feel like it looks too luminous when I apply a foundation over top. I like using the Charlotte Hollywood Flawless Filter underneath foundation because it's very, very subtle, and you can also go over top of your foundation with like a powder highlight. With this, I find like you can't go over top with a powder highlight because it's just gonna look too much. It's gonna look too intense and too dramatic. So I love this because I can use it as a primer. Now this one is different than the Lisa Eldridge. It's more of a creamy texture, so it doesn't come out as fluid-like as the Lisa Eldridge, but it does blend into the skin in the exact same way. It is ultra seamless, and it also is a skin-toned highlighter. So this one is more of like a light champagne with a bit of yellow to it, but this one is actually like a beige-toned highlighter. So this just is like a second skin, but it gives you that beautiful illumination, that beautiful healthy glow, that beautiful lit from within look that I love for that natural kind of no makeup highlighter. And because this is so subtle and so skin-like, and I can use it in a multitude of ways, this one is definitely going to win out over the Lisa Eldridge. While they are both beautiful products and I'm going to get used to both of them, I would say if you were going to choose one, I would definitely go with the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. This has just been a best of the best makeup product for me for years. I have bought in many, many of these, and I think once I go through this, I'm probably not going to repurchase. So that's how I know I would definitely choose the Hollywood Flawless Filter, is that I will repurchase this when I run out, because I just noticed the difference when I don't have it in my collection. It's so beautiful when I want that really natural lit from within glow. And I love how this looks. I love that it's that skin tone, and I don't know if you can see, it just looks like healthy skin. But I'm definitely going to have to give it to the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I'm sure that's not a surprise if you've seen my channel before. But both great products again, but you can only choose one winner. Okay, now moving on to eye products. These are always challenging because I definitely love eyeshadow palettes. I'm definitely more of like a quad girl, not those larger palettes, but I definitely have a tendency to gravitate towards similar toned palettes. So I understand why people would like to know which one is my like ultimate favorite or which one I recommend out of all of them. So the ones that I get the most questions about when I mention them are the Charlotte Tilbury Queen of Glow palette, which you can see it is definitely a warm tone palette with these beautiful metallic shades, and then this one matte shade. And then I also get lots of questions about the Tom Ford Suspicion palette, which is again a beautiful warm tone palette with shimmers. And then one more palette that is very similar in tone that people ask me what would I choose between the three are, well, they usually mention one or the other, but I just thought I'd include them all because I have gotten questions on these comparisons, is the Victoria Beckham Smoky Eye Brick in the shade Silk. So again, you can see there are those warm toned shimmers. All of them are quite golden and bronze. So let me quickly go over the formula of each and one because I love all three of these. Again, they add value to my collection. I love that I have all three of them, but if you are looking just to purchase one of these, I will tell you what my number one is after I go over all the formulas. So the first is the Charlotte Tilbury Queen of Glow palette. This is such a beautiful palette, and I feel like this is super underrated for Charlotte Tilbury. So this is just one of my favorite palettes because I love the tones in it. If you can see those shimmers, they are so beautifully pigmented. They are so buttery and so creamy. You can see that was just off one swipe. So they are very, very pigmented. They also have a little, I'm not going to call them metallics because there's no glitter chunks, but they are quite shimmery for Charlotte Tilbury. Like if you're used to maybe her Instant Eye palettes where the shimmer can be quite soft and subdued, very sophisticated shimmers. This is like an intense shimmer for Charlotte Tilbury, which I know a lot of people will really enjoy because of how pigmented they are. They are buttery, like I said, creamy, so easy to use. You don't necessarily need a matte shade, but I like that this is included because I can just use my bronzer in the crease, go in with all three of these shimmers, use this as an eyeliner, and I'm done with my look. The formula is just so beautiful in this. So definitely, like I said, a warm tone palette. And then next I'm going to go into the Victoria Beckham Silk. So this, again, you can probably see why they're quite similar because they're very much those warm toned shadows. But the Victoria Beckham differs because it is quite subtle in application. So when I apply that, you can see beautiful shimmers. They give a beautiful sheen on the eyes, but they're so subtle. So this is something that I would love to use for going to work every day. But you can also make this work for like going out for dinner because you get that very beautiful natural glam look where you just look like yourself but enhanced. But you can see there's no glitter in here at all. So I would definitely not say these are metallic. They're very buildable. When you first apply them, they almost, I don't want to say they blend away, but when you compare them to something like Pat McGrath, which is like so pigmented that you only need the tiniest dab in, you're going to want to go in with a bit of a heavier hand. But I like that these are very buildable because you can just go in with a very soft hand and get that beautiful sheen, but you can build it up to get a bit more intensity. No, you're never going to get the palette to be as intense as this is off initial application, but you get some beautiful dimension in this look, and it really just enhances your natural features in a subtle way, which I love. So again, these formulas are totally different because the Charlotte Tilbury is so pigmented and has a bit more sparkle, where this is that beautiful natural sheen that just kind of melts into your eyes very beautifully. And then the last one on my list is the Tom Ford Suspicion palette. I feel like I have gone on and on about this palette and how much I love it. I use this all year round. This is a palette that I use pretty much once a week. I try and alternate my makeup because I do have a lot, but this is something that I know I will love my eye makeup when I use it. I love the formula of this. So I would say if you are looking for, let's say we're comparing intensity-wise, Charlotte Tilbury Queen of Glow, most dramatic. Tom Ford Suspicion is right in the middle. And then the Victoria Beckham Silk is the most subtle. So this is the Tom Ford Suspicion. Again, it's really pigmented, but not too pigmented off initial application. You get a beautiful sheen. This is what I like to call like a mature sparkle or a sophisticated sheen that just gives your eyes this beautiful twinkle that's not overdone in any way. You're not going to have any chunky glitter that looks really obnoxious or that's going to be too much during the daytime. This is an every occasion palette that I reach for. And this is also Tom Ford's Baked Chalet formula, so you can use these shadows wet and dry. If you want a little more intensity, then you can just use these shadows wet and they perform like a true metallic shade. It really gives you that gilded look, but again, with no intense sparkle. But I love this formula. It is so pretty. Yeah, so this was a hard choice because I absolutely love all three of these palettes, but the one that I reach for the most and the one that just has a formula that is just not comparable to anything else, Tom Ford Suspicion palette for sure. The wet and dry formula, if you haven't tried it out, I would wait for a sale for sure, but just try out a palette where the tones really speak to you because the formula of these are just unreal. I just think this formula is unmatched, it's unbeatable, it's so beautiful because you can get so many different looks out of this, and I just love how they look on the eye. It gives you that beautiful sparkle, but not glitter. And it never looks like too much makeup. You never look over the top. This is just an absolute favorite. And then I have one more eyeshadow product to talk about. So when I have done Chantecaille full faces, in my last one I mentioned that I love the Chantecaille Mermaid eye colors, but also the Chantecaille Luminescent eye shades because they're both beautiful one and done shades. So first I'm going to talk about the Mermaid eye color. You can see it just comes in this pot, and I love that it's just a single eyeshadow because that is what I gravitate towards mostly on like a daily basis. So this is a beautiful single eyeshadow that just gives a very nice sheen. When you feel it, you feel like it would be a cream eyeshadow, but it actually goes from a cream, it feels like a creamy texture but applies like a powder product, and you can see it is just very soft and subtle. Again, it's buildable, but it gives you just a beautiful sheen on your eyes that isn't emphasizing any texture. It's not, again, too glittery. It's not too metallic. There's no sparkle chunks in this, so you're not going to have fallout throughout the day. This is just a great one and done that I think, again, works for any occasion and that I think would look beautiful on mature eyes. I think it would look beautiful on anyone because this color is very subtle as well. This is the shade Copper, and I like that it's not too orange or too cool tone, not too warm tone. It just gives you that perfect one and done look with enough depth. But then we have to talk about the Chantecaille Luminescent eye shade. So now these formulas are definitely different. They're not similar. The Chantecaille Luminescent eye shade is very pigmented, as you can see. It is quite a bit more intense. That is a swatch of it there. So this is the shade Lion. You can see it is quite sparkly and there are some glitter particles to it, but it's nothing chunky at all. Like, you're not going to see glitter chunks. It's not a really thick texture or anything. It's not a very dry, crumbly texture like a lot of glitter formulas are. This is a very smooth texture, and it is quite a smooth metallic formula. Like, you can see there's definitely sparkle, but it's not obnoxious in any way. And I just love the effect that it gives on the eyes. You can definitely see there are like gold tone sparkles to it, but this looks so beautiful at night. This is definitely something that I lean towards when I'm going out for dinner, or if I have an event to go to, if I have like special plans. I tend to not reach for this in the daytime so much, just because, again, there are some sparkle particles. But if I were to recommend one eyeshadow, just because of how special these look on the eyes, I'm going to have to say the winner is the Luminescent eye shades. I just feel like with the Chantecaille Mermaid eye color, while I am loving these, I truly do love them. I have them in different shades, and there's something that I reach for super often. I feel like you can find similar formulas or similar color stories. I just feel like there's other single eyeshadows that are that give a similar vibe. But this is just a metallic eyeshadow that I don't have anything like this in my collection, because I love that this has a sparkle, but it's not too over the top where I'm like insecure about wearing it on my eyes. This just looks beautiful every time. It pairs well with any eye look, any kind of blush color you want to wear. You can wear this with a red lip and it would look so beautiful for the holidays. This is just probably my favorite single eyeshadow, so I'm going to have to give the win to the Luminescent eye shade. So if you were debating between picking up an eyeshadow from Chantecaille, make it this one, and I promise you, you won't regret it. They have many different shades, so whatever shade calls to you. I'm definitely speaking more about the formula here versus the eyeshadow color, but these are just my favorite colors. And last up, we have powders. So this is definitely probably my most asked question on these two products. What would you choose between the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish or the Chantecaille Perfect Blur Finishing Powder? Now, again, I love having both in my collection. They're both products that I will repurchase once I go through them, but this is a battle of the best, so I am going to choose just one. So first, let's talk about the Chantecaille Perfect Blur. This is such a remarkable powder. It is a very hard pressed powder, so it is a baked powder. And you need a denser brush to pick it up, and you can see the little color there. So now this comes in two shades. I obviously have the lighter one, and it doesn't offer a lot of pigment, nor does it offer much coverage, but this does the most beautiful job at blurring your skin. When you apply this on your skin, it looks like you have a filter, an Instagram filter on your face. It truly perfects and blurs any pore, any texture. So especially maybe if I'm using a more radiant foundation, this is something I will reach for the center of my face. And it never is heavy, it's never cakey, it's not a drying powder. It just sets down your makeup and just adds this beautiful veil of like blurring. So wonderful. Now the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless, oh gosh, the names are so long, Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. This again is very smoothing on the skin. It is so beautiful. And it's a bit different of a powder because when you apply your brush into it, you get tons of powder kick up. So this is quite a pigmented powder, or quite a powdery powder, but it doesn't offer like coverage on your skin. It just offers this beautiful perfected look. Almost knocked my water bottle off. But having to choose one is very difficult. Now the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless, I believe, in my opinion, is more mattifying on the skin. So if you are someone who is very oily, you might prefer this one because I think it does mattify the skin as well as blurring and perfecting. But the win is going to have to go to the Chantecaille Perfect Blur just because it offers a bit more of that blurring effect and isn't as mattifying on my skin, which I enjoy because I have very dry skin. And if I were to recommend and say you could only have one, I would pick this one. This is just a great powder if you want that blurred effect or if you are concerned about any texture or anything like that, because I like to keep my foundation coverage very light. And then I just like to perfect my skin with one of these powders. But again, if I had to choose one, this one wins the beauty battle. So that is it for my beauty battle today. Let me know down below if you have any other products that you would like me to battle it out between, because I definitely have lots in my collection, and I know there are probably many more products that I could do this with. Let me know if you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I will see you in my next video.